hearing outside your front door might be those idiots that decide to shoot fireworks off all 4th of July weekend. Really, guys, come on. Welcome to Wrestling with Egos. Mine is Brian again, because this is episode dos of the Bri-cation. Welcome back. We're glad you could join us. My name is Patrick, joined as I am always by the Big Don of Wrestling with Egos, the man, the myth, the sexual chocolate of our show, if you will. Big Isaac, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Excited to be here. Let's go. Let's do this. About the show.
Show tonight, because let's be honest. One, nothing happened this week. Two, I really don't like doing this. This is what happened last week's show. Why? As I keep saying, and I have no problem admitting this, there are other shows on YouTube with better production values, better staff that do this every week. Oh, this is what happened. Here's our ups and our downs. If you kind of catch my drift, Simon Miller. Here's the thing, though. They get paid. They have enough subscribers to be able to do so. We have 40-something. We're not doing it. You want to talk about what happened this week? Go to What Culture. I don't care. It ain't us. So the big man and I have been deciding in our little pre-show what to talk about. And it hit me that this weekend on Peacock, that's a different story that's a rant mode right there, just how god awful the Peacock interface is. It might even fire that one off tonight. Who knows? But this weekend on Peacock, WWE is going to post their most recent WWE Icons documentary. And this one's on Lex Luger. Not a name that we mention a lot on Wrestling with Egos, mainly because if you were to ask Isaac, myself, or Brian, name your 50 favorite wrestlers, I would be willing to bet a large sum of money that Lex Luger would not appear on at least 2 of our lists, maybe 3. I know for a fact, not mine. Can I appreciate the total package of Lex Luger? Yeah. That's about it. So, what we've decided is, even though Brian's not here, Brian would probably just eat this subject alive and not really dig it. Maybe he would. I don't know. But guess what? We're doing it tonight. Because this is the next to last episode before I go on vacation for 2 weeks. Next week's episode is gonna be a doozy. I promise you that. Here's what next week is. What god awful gimmick could you just not get enough of? Like, just god awful. What the hell is this crap? You were like, this is the greatest thing ever. Hey, all you gotta do is believe. Anyway, well, that is 7 days from now. What we're talking about pre-4th of July. Nice that we're talking pre-4th of July, because one of this dude's biggest moments happened around this time in like 94, 95. But we'll get there. We are discussing the total package Lex Luger, and we are going to do it in the format of the GOAT discussion that we've had on this show plenty of times. Is Lex Luger worthy of GOAT status? No, not even close. But Isaac and I felt by doing it this way, we'd be able to have a better, true understanding of what made him who he is in terms of wrestling, and also maybe give us a barometer on overrated versus underrated. Is he really as overrated as, I don't know about Isaac, but as overrated as I think he is. So kind of like, getting into it, and let's see what happens. So, Isaac, from my understanding, my good friend, this is your very first GOAT discussion, correct?
Yes.
All right. I know. Go ahead.
First topic. Career longevity.
But before we get into that, what I actually wanted to do, because I know you have them written down because you had pen and paper and I didn't. Let's go ahead and list off the same 6 topics that we talk about every time we do a GOAT discussion. And as you mentioned, the first one is career longevity. How long was your career? How many? Blah 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 blah. That sort of deal. Second one is what?
Storyline relevance.
Obviously, did the company put you in a position where, hey, you actually mattered? Number 3, if I'm not mistaken, is your number of championships won. Or that's one of them. The number of championships won. Another one, mic skills. Could you actually tear it up with the stick in your hand? I remember the other 2. Next one is your career longevity. Were you injury prone? As Brian likes to say, your best ability is your availability. And finally, the intangibles, those unmeasurable things that make you you. Isaac's overall handsomeness, my insatiable ego, Brian's massive dictionary. He hates when I do that, so I had to get it in here. Love you, buddy. The man's got a large vocabulary. Just gargantuan. So let's get into this and talk about Lex Luger's career as a whole. Because dude, it's interesting. I'm kind of pulling it up on Wikipedia real quick, just kind of. Now, don't get me wrong. Are we going to talk about some of the utter crap that happened with Lex Luger? Abso-freaking-lutely. How do you know? I mean, not only is Lex Luger, worthy of a WWE Icons episode, dude's worthy of Dark Side of the Ring. I mean, he might be one of those few dudes that really can. So let's go ahead and get into it. He started wrestling in 1985. Just wrestling in Florida, and it was shortly, and in 86 he finally got into 86 is when he made his his foray into Jim Crockett Promotions, the National Wrestling Alliance, and he started really getting into some heavy duty matches. Primarily, I believe there was one, and I'm looking here, in September 1st of 86 was his very first chance. He went one-on-one with the man, Ric Flair, and it was an NWA World Title match in which Flair retained, obviously. But on and off, but this is a dude that for the mid 80s and for the mid 80s up into the mid 90s was a WCW stalwart. He was always there, whether it be, whether it be as a face, whether it be as a heel. He was a horseman. He was on his own. He might go down in history of being one of the worst horsemen in history. It's not the worst. That's still Paul Roma.
Without a doubt, that's Paul Roma.
That is still Paul Roma. But I'm just kind of, from a career longevity standpoint, this guy was there at the beginning of like the golden age of wrestling, the early to mid 80s. He was there, and he, with the exception of a 3 or 4 years span was with WCW from that point till the damn doors closed. I mean, he was there under contract. He wasn't used, but he was there when WCW had their final Nitro in Panama City. I mean, he with, like I said, with the exception of those 4 years he was in WWE or the World Bodybuilding Federation, he was a WCW guy. He was one of those guys that is synonymous with the NWA/WCW. So for me, one thing that's never been in question is how long of a career this guy had and how long he stayed around. And once he got to a main event level, he stayed there. Inexplicably somehow sometimes, but he was there. Yo.
They didn't have, at the time, they didn't have anybody else that they could put at that level or that was even close to that level at times for him.
I disagree, because let's go ahead and this is why I love the GOAT discussion, because you can literally take one topic and literally segue right into another one. May not be in order, but we can still do it. And we're talking about storyline relevance now. Luger was always good, bad, or indifferent. He was always relevant. And here's why. In the early 80s, he was a horseman. Then he was no longer a horseman, and he was feuding with the Horsemen, teaming with the likes of Wyndham before Wyndham became a horseman, and Nikita, and Sting, and Dusty, and Magnum TA, and those guys. And then you get into the late 80s, early 90s, and Lex Luger becomes a heel, a great heel, under the tutelage of Harley Race, becomes WCW champion by pinning Barry Windham with a pile driver, stopped using the rack, and started using a pile driver, by the way. One of my favorite moves. And as a heel, go back and think about it, Isaac, in the early 90s, Sting's second world title reign was due in part to, and how great it was, the build to it, was because Luger kept, it turned out to be Luger, but all of those mystery boxes that would appear on the ramp. And that's how Cactus Jack came out of the box and beat the piss out of Sting. And how Abdullah the Butcher came out of the box and beat the piss out of Sting.
And then he brought out a female, and that just threw everybody off.
It was freaking Medusa, and then it was Medusa, and then Luger jumped him, which was the catalyst to get the U.S. title off of Sting onto Ravishing Rick Rude as a part of the Dangerous Alliance. Great freaking stable, and off to the races we were. Sting and Luger, amazing rivalry. Fast forward a little bit, let's go. Forget the narcissist, Lex Luger. Forget the World Bodybuilding Federation. I bet all of us wish to God we could scrub that from our memories. Kind of like the Kennel from Hell match, the King of the Road match, and the Punjabi prison. Those are just things we wish we could all forget. Anyway, you're talking 4th of July celebration on that battleship. And everybody under the sun is trying to slam Yokozuna's fat ass. And nobody can do it. Okay, show's over. The chopper. Luger comes out in like the Tommy Hilfiger, Stars and Stripes polo shirt and slams his ass.
And that was perfect and great, and they did it.
It was absolutely awesome. And then that led Luger to being pushed through the roof. Granted, they did that bus tour thing, which was stupid as hell. I'm in freaking high school, bro, and I'm over here thinking, this is the dumbest thing ever. Why put him on a bus? Why not just put him in the ring and just let him beat the hell out of people?
The
No,
Lex Express.
Lex Express. Good Lord. It's like campaigning, like, campaigning like a presidential race. What the bloody? I still don't.
That was just. I don't know if it was during an election year. That's
I,
probably why they did it. I don't
I,
know. I don't remember.
I don't know, but you know what? It's kind of like Brawl for All. I don't think I'll ever understand it.
I understand the Brawl for All, but that's a whole nother.
Oh God, yeah. I understood Brawl for All too. Hot garbage.
Hot mess.
The only thing it was good for was WrestleMania 15 and seeing Bart Gunn get detached from his senses. That was it. But okay, so Luger has that run up to up through SummerSlam against Joko, and then getting into the Rumble when him and Brett tied. Not Cena and Batista hitting the floor at the same time. Camera tricks tied. And then you have Brett and Luger both getting a shot at Yoko. And then from there, he kind of pitters off, and then and then Nitro happens. And then from the moment he debuted on Nitro, that dude was always relevant, dude. He was always a part of some at least major-ish storyline.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, people forget this. He was the first guy to beat Hogan. I'm sorry, he was the first guy to beat Hollywood Hulk Hogan for the title.
On a Monday night.
Yeah, on a Monday night.
I do remember that too.
Yeah, was the first guy to do it. So don't tell me the guy wasn't relevant. Don't tell me the guy had wasn't a part of any storyline. Don't tell me the guy wasn't over. I went to a lot of Nitros as a late high schooler and shortly after high school. And when his music hit and he came out and he hit the double bicep and the pyro went off and then went into the whatever you call this number, people lost their shit over Luger. He was over. I to this day I don't understand it, but I mean, the guy was. I mean, think about this. Pro Wrestling Illustrated named him in 1990. Let's see, just some of the highlights. Forget some of the crappy ones. In both 88 and 90, Feud of the Year with Flair. 91 Match of the Year with Sting versus the Steiner Brothers at Super Brawl #1. He was the most popular wrestler of 1993. The Rookie of the Year in 86. The Wrestler of the Year in 1997. The year after the NWO. The year after Austin 316.
That's pretty amazing. Let's just see here.
Illustrated Wrestler of the Year for 1997.
That's crazy to me.
The NWO is a jugger freaking knot at this point. And Lex Flippin' Luger is the Wrestler of the Year. He was ranked #2 in the PWI 591. He was ranked 20. He was ranked 20 in the PW 20 of the top 500 of the PWI years in 2013. I mean, the dude had accomplishments. I mean, to me, me, a two-time WCW World Heavyweight Champ, a two-time TV champ, five-time U.S. champ, three-time tag champ, and him and Sting won the Crockett Cup.
Yeah.
Got a resume. Okay, so we've looked at his career longevity. We've looked at his relevance. We've looked at his championships. Okay, all three of those check the boxes. So let's dig a little deeper. Why does Lex Luger get, let's be honest, shit on the way he does? We'll get to intangibles later. Trust me, it's coming. Mic work. If you're giving him a letter grade, at best, a C. Nah. Go ahead.
C minus. C minus. He was good. He was good to be in the room, but he was not. But I mean, when you're talking mic skills, you're talking anyone that is as good as Dusty Rhodes or a Ric Flair or a Steve Austin or Brock, nowhere near that level.
Here's the thing. I'm not saying Lex Luger could cut a promo. He could not. But honestly and truly, I want to give him a little bit higher at best. Like his peak, maybe a B minus. Here's why. Hear me out. Hear me out.
Go.
The guy could actually string together a coherent sentence. The guy had a vocabulary. Even though he was screaming like a Memphis promo, he was intelligent. It wasn't the freaking Ultimate Warrior. I mean,
wait, let's say right there. No one is the Ultimate Warrior when it came to promo skills.
Oh, God, no.
That was
no. Okay, sidebar. Worst promo skills: Warrior or Sid? Gotcha there, don't I?
No, because it's the Ultimate Warrior. It's not even a question.
No. At least the Warriors, you knew were going to be nonsensical and entertaining. Sid with a hot mic on Nitro told Holland Nash, "You might be, how would you say it? You might be half the man that I am, but I have half the brain that you do." Don't know. Do not come at me telling me that the Ultimate Warrior was a worse promo than Sid. Kiss my ass. Not a chance in hell. You'll never convince me of that. Get out of here with that. But going back to Luger. Luger was intelligent. Luger could string together a coherent sentence. He wasn't believable. Lex Luger would not put my ass in the seat. Okay, give me him and Hogan for the title at the height of the NWO, right before he beats him on Nitro. Get me to that point, and then give me a Luger promo. I'm watching it, not because I want to. I'm watching that match, not because I want to see Luger win. I'm there to see Hogan lose. Heel 401, boys and girls. What do we always talk about? The mark of a great heel is, can I make you pay your hard-earned money to see me get my ass kicked? And that was Hogan at that time. Luger could not draw on his own. He needed a dance partner because as well-spoken as they were, they didn't. I'm sorry, my opinion, he didn't grab the audience. It was very dry.
It was always Luger.
Oh, very, very dry. Intelligent. I am never, ever going to question the man's intelligence, because you can tell by the way that he spoke and the way, and he used some big words. Not like Brian level, but he used some big words. And maybe that didn't go well with us dumbass Southerners. I don't know. Hey, over yonder, they got a guy with a mullet over there. I know. I wanted to throw that one out there and see where it was going to go, and then I didn't think this out very well. I didn't think this out all too good or there, Isaac. My brain wouldn't work. Anyway, moving right along. I still, because to me, everybody that we've ever put on this GOAT discussion has something that stands out. AJ Styles might not have been the best promo guy in the entire world, but his body of work in the ring, holy shitballs. Shawn, well, we've never done a GOAT discussion on Shawn, and there's no reason to. We did one on The Undertaker. The Undertaker could cut a promo. The Undertaker was relevant. The Undertaker had intangibles like the freaking entrance. By the way, did I also mention he was the freaking Undertaker? Guys like that. We had a discussion, a GOAT discussion on the New Day. And trust me, if you ever want to talk about promo skills, those guys got over talking about bootios and rainbows and pancakes and the power of positivity. How that worked, God, I'll never understand it. But you know what? I love it. Still love it. Luger never stood out with anything. As far as I can honestly say, Lex Luger was, to this point so far as we're getting into our discussion, he was aight. His matches weren't crappy.
Matches were great. He was fantastic in matches. I
don't know if I would say fantastic.
Good.
He was beyond serviceable. I'll put it that way.
Okay, I'll go with that. I can go with that.
Best analogy I can come up with. I would not kick a Lex Luger match out of bed, but it wouldn't be my first choice, if you follow me.
Yeah. I'll go.
There are a lot of things I will put on my grill tomorrow as I'm cooking. And if Lex Luger's matches were a cut of beef, it wouldn't be the first thing on my grill.
It may be the fourth.
Yeah, honestly, his matches were
aight.
His matches were aight. To me, the fourth cut, that's below aight. I'm kind of an elitist dick when it comes to my foods, man.
Were you gonna put him on third or second?
Oh, third choice. I think Luger matches, high third tier, low second tier.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
Maybe as high as mid second tier, depending on one, the build, two, the opponent. You give me Luger Sting from the early 90s? Hell yes. You give me Luger Hogan from 97 when he beat him for the title? My God, that was a great match.
Yes, it was.
His overall health never really had a question in terms of health. He had that one major injury in between WCW and the WBF. Had that motorcycle accident that put him out for a while. But that was about it. He never had any major injuries, to my knowledge.
No, never had any major injuries. Never had really anything that kept him off the road. We all know what, he was in shape just a little. I'm kidding. You know that I'm kidding. But
God,
you that guy's stomach and you're like, holy shit. What the
dude.
hell?
Now, whether or not he might have had some assistance in that is
Irrelevant.
it's irrelevant. I don't care. Look, I'm a purist when it comes to baseball. I'm really not a fan of my baseball players using performance enhancing drugs. I gotta be honest. Wrestlers, eh, it's using roids in professional wrestling isn't going to give you a competitive advantage. Let's just put it that way, kids. It might help you look better coming out of the gym, but that's about it. So his career was fairly unscathed.
Until.
Oh, okay. And here's the part of the conversation that number one is going to take a while because there's a lot of good and there's some hella bad, and it's in terms of its intangibles. I want to get the bad out of the way because you know me. I like to end with good. You know me. So let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. He had a drug problem, a massive drug problem, pill popper, to the point he ended up inadvertently causing the death of his girlfriend at the time, who was Miss Elizabeth, who, let's put it this way, if you're a guy and you're a wrestling fan and you're our age and you were a wrestling fan when you were a kid, you had a crush on Miss Elizabeth.
And if you didn't, you weren't a wrestling fan. Let's start off with that.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Look, there's only one or two ways that no, there's only one way, and that was that you weren't a wrestling fan. Even if you were young and realized at that point that you were gay, guess what? You still had a crush on Liz because Liz dressed to the freaking nines.
She was so gorgeous, Mike.
Yeah.
God. I just can't.
Yeah. I mean, she was like the Princess Di of wrestling. She was that just picture perfect model of elegance and beauty, and because
Class
so what?
and class.
Yes, and because of that, she was beloved. Do not give a damn that she turned heel in the mid '90s and was in the NWO. Because I got to be honest, as a as a gentleman that was noticing women at that point in time, Liz in the little black dress with the NWO logo on it was always a clean look. Just saying. Um, and at the same time, Liz with Woman, with the Horsemen, Flair promos, man, those were mwah. That was Flair at his I don't give a crap. I'm just gonna have fun phase, and I was here for that. I liked that Ric Flair. Anyway, back to Lex Luger. Um, Luger, I'll be honest, because I can speak for Isaac on this, because I know Isaac feels the same way about this. Luger is going to perpetually get a bad rap in with wrestling fans because, using air quotes here, boys and girls, he killed Liz. Um, that's it. Um, good, fair or unfair. That's the um that's the stigma, that's the albatross that's gonna hang around his neck. What he's done with his life since then is remarkable. He had a massive spinal stroke, I believe it was. It left him paralyzed. He turned his life around. He's a man of faith. He's a Christian now. A lot of motivational speaking and consulting with WWE in terms of their wellness policy currently. Okay, but the intangibles in terms of his career, that's a massive black mark. A massive black mark. It was also viewed with Luger that Luger was pushed and there was no reason why. He always go ahead.
Luger was pushed, especially during the WWE era, because they felt Luger was going to be the next Hulk Hogan.
Right.
We thought, nothing could be, greater than Hulk Hogan. And in their mind, because Luger had, I want to say, the look, with the body, with the hair, with everything that going, he could be the next guy to Hulk Hogan. It didn't work out to be that way.
No, because one of the big another negative intangible is Lex Luger had the charisma of a wet paper sack.
I was gonna say paint drying, but I mean, I'll go with that too.
I mean, he was as charismatic as Brian, being as monotone as humanly possible, reading a cookbook. And I'm not knocking Brian here. I'm just saying Brian has that innate ability to make his voice very monotone. He's a teacher. He can do this, and he does it well. He's done it to me on purpose, and it's hilarious. But even Brian would have more charisma than Lex Luger did. Lex Luger was a whole lot of hype and a whole lot of sizzle. No, actually, no. Let me take that back. He was a whole lot of hype. He was a whole lot of steak, or a decent amount of steak, and no sizzle.
No sizzle. No sizzle.
He was some steak. We discussed it. His matches weren't garbage. He was not trash in the ring. Not even close. You'll never get me to say the Lex Luger was trash in the ring. Hell no. But, it's the attitude, it's the ego, it's the drug problems, it's the Liz thing. We'll just leave it at that. Those were those bad intangibles. As we've got about 15 minutes left in our discussion, and then we're going to just wrap it up, possibly. But you've got some positive intangibles that aren't just positive. They jump off the page and go, holy shit. And Exhibit A to the jury, holy shit. How does a man 270 pounds built like that, he racked the Human Torture rack. He racked the following: Roadblock, who weighed over 5 bills; John Tinta, Earthquake, Shark, whatever you want to call him, who weighed over 4.5 bills; Paul freaking White, in his early years, who was still over 7 feet tall and in excess of 400 pounds. And he racked him. He racked Kevin Nash. I think the only person in history that Lex Luger did not get up in the rack was Yokozuna.
I agree with that. I agree.
Because made in the USA, Lex Luger was not racking, folks. He was using that forearm.
But he could have. Luger was one of those guys.
I don't know about Yoko, bro. Yoko was pushing 6, dude.
I still think he could have done it. There were certain guys in the WWE. We go back in the history of wrestling that we keep saying they could have racked that could have gotten Andre up. You know, there are certain guys we could sit there and say. I think, and I'm putting this on one hand because there's only a few guys I think that could have, could have done some amazing things. Billy Jack Haynes, 1. Strength, Luger, 2. Hercules, 3. Ultimate Warrior.
Warrior wasn't as strong as people want to give him credit for. Warrior was a body guy, and Warrior was a body guy by bottle and syringe. Sorry, you're not. Look, I am a guy. You're not gonna get me to. You're not gonna get me to sign off on the Ultimate Warrior being on that list. No. No way, no chance, no how. I ain't buying.
Okay, hold on. I also put on this list in his heyday. Animal could have done it. Remember, he was benching 6.
Excuse me.
Easy.
There's a dude there's a dude you're failing to mention that, especially in the early 90s, was one of the strongest dudes in wrestling, and that's Ron freaking Simmons. But regardless of who else could have done it, Lex Luger did. Lex Luger popped a crowd more times than I want to count because he got in the ring with some bitch and got that big ass up on his shoulders backwards, by the way, not fireman's carry, the hard way. Which, let's be honest, go back and look at how he puts on that torture rack. He's behind you, does this crap, picks you up, and essentially squats you, and then stands up and starts doing this number. I'm sorry, there's not much you can do to help someone get you up for the rack. You gotta jump to get them up for them to get you up, but it's them the rest of the way. So now you're looking at a 7 foot tall, 400-pound Goliath, and he gives you that little bunny hop, and you get his ass up and you keep him there. Some bitch, that's an intangible.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, because in one of the nitros that I went to, Raven and Raven's flock were a thing at that point. And he had a dude in the flock named Reese. Big, tall dude with a weird kind of mohawk thing.
Okay, I remember what you're talking about.
This Birmingham, and Luger racked his big ass. And this was a dude that was at least 6'9", 6'10", and easily over 325. And he racked him. And when he racked him, I swear to you, that tiny ass Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center was shaking because everybody went nuts. When he racked a big dude, that was a pop that you rarely hear. It was that Road Warrior level pop. It was that Shawn winning the first Elimination Chamber in the Garden pop. The crowd at WrestleMania 31 reacting to that RKO. It was that level of, the Road Warrior pop was a massive pop because they were popular. The other major pops was, I can't believe that just happened. Oh my God. And Lex Luger did that on the semi-regular, especially in 97. Holy crap. Overall, in terms of his body of work, again, there were a lot of things about Luger that were really freaking cool, namely his strength, namely the way he looked. His entrance was always cool. It's very basic, had the really cool music. One of the best pieces of music WCW had. Go back and listen to it. I'm gonna try to find it, and if I have found it before I put this show together, you're hearing it right now. I don't know. So if you don't hear any music right now, I didn't find it. Sorry. But he had cool music, and it was driving, and it was energetic, and it just like could get you just pumped up. And then the double bicep, and the pyro, and the screechy pyro, the kind of sound, yeah, sounds like a damn bottle rocket going off. That that thing, whatever you call that. He's got the double bicep, and then and I'm just like, it was basic as hell, but damn,
it worked. It worked for him. It worked for him at that time, and it was perfect.
Yeah, because especially in a big match when like Michael Buffer's introducing him, he's hitting that double bicep, and Lex Luger and Buffer's going, Lex Luger. You know it's on. I mean, it was on at that point, and it was those were some of those things that were just like, okay, this is a guy. But there were so many other things, with the exception of the demons and the skeletons in the closet. There were some things about Lex Luger that were really stinking cool. But there was a lot of things about Luger that were just, do I think he deserves a spot in the GOATness? No. I gotta be honest. Kind of looking back at it, what was really eye-opening for me tonight was looking back at those accomplishments and realizing in 97 he was the wrestler of the year. What the hell?
Who else was wrestling in 97? Like, he got wrestling of the year.
I know, right? I mean, I don't think Goldberg. No, Goldberg was not a thing then, or if he was starting.
Starting, but that was Goldberg peaked in 98 when he beat Hogan.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken.
Sting was not wrestling at this point because Sting was brooding up in the rafters.
At the time,
Austin was Austin.
Austin was just starting to get his peak.
Right.
Peak.
Shawn was still there.
True.
No, yeah, Shawn was still there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back at that time, I keep looking on my timeline for Facebook, and everything happened around this time, which was Austin 316 was born, the Hell in the Cell match with Mankind versus Undertaker, all that stuff was popping off.
Hell in the Cell was 98.
I'm sorry, that's
Holy right. Was 98. Because that was King of the Ring. It was the King of the Ring that Hunter won. No.
We'll go look that up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look that up. No, Austin and the NWO was 96. So 97 was Hunter's King of the Ring.
Okay, that's right. But still.
The 98 King of the Ring, when when the infamous Hell in the Cell match happened in Pittsburgh, that was Shamrock.
Okay. I remember that. Yeah. You were right.
Rewind. We're 97. Sean is still
Sean.
Sean is Sean at this point because we are pre DX because 97 Triple H is still the blue blood. So Sean is still Sean. Brett is still Brett. Taker is still Taker, although 97 Taker was some injuries. WCW literally had the Giant and had Luger and the NWO.
I'm trying to think if they had anything else. So
No, they didn't. The Horsemen weren't relevant. The Dungeon of Doom was still around.
oh my god, I totally forgot about that. Thank you, Kelvin.
I didn't. WCW didn't have anything. WCW literally had the Cruiserweights, the NWO, and Luger in 1997. Think about it. Sting was in transition. The Horsemen were
irrelevant
themselves.
Well, that was also because of Eric Bischoff too, but that's a whole different story.
I don't care. I don't care if it was because I don't care if it was because of that bitch Carol Baskin. I don't care. Thank you. It does not matter why the Horsemen were shells of themselves. They were. That's all it is for this part of the discussion. All WCW had was Hogan, Hall, Nash, the Giant, and Luger. Literally, as soon as I finish saying that, the timer goes off. Nice. Perfect timing. So that means it is about time to wrap this up. So we'll take a couple of more minutes and just kind of gather our thoughts. So let me ask you this question, big man. Looking back at this tonight, rewind. Before we started this discussion, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you have put Lex Luger?
I would have put him
Warts and all.
I still put him at a 7 or 8.
So you had him that high before tonight.
Yeah.
I didn't. I had him at 5 or 6. I've got him 7, 7.5 now because I realized, oh crap, he did a lot.
A lot of stuff. He has a lot of accolades for someone that we don't think of. Anyone else that had those accolades would be first tier Hall of Famer without question.
If Lex Luger had a personality, if Lex Luger could cut a promo and give me Lex Luger's in-ring work and John Cena's personality, God.
Yes. Yeah.
You give me the charisma that someone like Cena had. I'm not saying The Rock or anybody like that, because that wouldn't fit someone like Lex Luger. He would need a gritty, never say die kind of attitude, but I know I'm bad.
Right.
Kind of like Cena. You give Lex Luger that kind of charisma, that kind of character. And we're not talking top 50, we're talking top 10 easily, because the guy physically had moments. See if you can read my mind. You've known me almost 10 years. See if you can see where I'm going with this. Who is in the current ideation of professional wrestling? Who is our modern day Lex Luger?
Let me actually think about this for a second.
I'll give you a hint, WWE. All the physical tools, promos and mic and everything else might be a little bit questionable, but what happens in between those ropes is unquestionable, and also has the physical ability to give you some holy shit moments.
I'm thinking Cesaro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cesaro is one of those guys. And looking, now, because I just literally made that comparison just a few minutes ago. And that in and of itself gives me a little bit more of an appreciation for Lex Luger. And here's why. I love Cesaro. I think what Cesaro does in the ring is unmatched by anyone. Because he's not a massive built jacked guy. He's not 260, 270 pounds of solid muscle like Luger was. He's 230, 240. And at WrestleMania 30, he picked up Paul White in a body slam, walked to the ropes, and dumped him. He has done the giant swing to the Big Show, Mark Henry, and the Great Khali. He did that bullshit that he did to Seth Rollins this year at WrestleMania UFO. What the hell?
Well, I want to add one more thing with the giant part. When he stepped to him, he picked him up, stepped to the end, and then dropped him off. You failed to mention he did that easily without even breaking a sweat. There's not many people that can do that. Not many people, and he did it with ease, and didn't struggle doing it either.
In the last 10 to 15 years in wrestling, since the death of WCW, I can maybe count on one hand like moments of strength where I'm just like, oh my God. And that's probably one of the two most, right now, there's only two in my mind in terms of like feats of strength in the ring where I was like, how is that possible? The other one was WrestleMania 25 when Cena got Big Show and Edge his shoulders at the same damn time. Like, what the hell? But anyway, getting back to the point I was making, and I'll let you make a point, agree or disagree on what I'm about to say. Comparing Luger to Cesaro makes me appreciate Luger more because I see the in-ring work that Cesaro does, and I look and go, why isn't WWE giving this guy a shot? And literally, he's from his in-ring work might be better. His promo skills are just as bad. Just as Lex Luger and Cesaro are parallel. They're very comparable. So if I look at Cesaro going, why isn't WWE giving this cat a shot? I didn't have to look at Luger and go, okay, this guy got shots. This guy was relevant.
I agree. It gets me mad because I mean, as much as as I like Seth Rollins and I like Roman Reigns, they still need to bring Cesaro up to that level.
I agree. And don't get me wrong, I like Roman Reigns now. Ever since SummerSlam last year, I like Roman Reigns. Before that, yeah, that's another guy who, I wasn't sold on until until switch flipped, and when that switch flipped, like, oh, this is a thing. Okay, cool. So you said you were at about a 7 beforehand. Where are you at now on Luger? Knowing what you know now, kind of taking a deeper dive into this.
I will say 7.5. I wouldn't say 8 totally.
Okay.
Because when I think 8, I think Hall of Fame, and you are.
If you're in an 8, you're borderline Hall of Fame.
Right.
I don't think Luger. I wouldn't put Luger in the Hall of Fame, but at the same time, there are people that are in the Hall of Fame that are a lot less credible than Lex Luger.
Look, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna throw out a name, and I hate to put him out like this, but seriously, Coco Beware.
Thank you. That literally was.
I'm sorry. Luger's not in, but Coco Beware is.
Yeah.
Come on, dog. That's all I'm saying.
Let's say, yeah. I mean, Coco's in. Look, and the sad thing is, I can name a bunch of names.
Go through a lot of names that shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. And
Coco Beware's in the Hall of Fame, but Barry Horowitz isn't. Iron Mike Sharp isn't.
I mean, guys, especially for those guys that made everyone else look fantastic.
Yeah, hey, Brian, this one's for you. Simon Dean isn't in the Hall. But this has been eye-opening for me because I realize now Luger wasn't crap. I never really thought he was crap, but let me rephrase that. Lex Luger kinda has gotten a raw deal. I personally still don't completely give him a pass on that Liz thing.
No, he's never getting a pass on the Liz thing because I loved her. So he's never getting a pass on that.
I'm with you on that. But at the same time, I also look at what he's done post career. He did some jail time for all of that stuff and drugs and stuff like that. Wasn't a whole lot, but he did some jail time. And he's turned his life around. I as a Christian have to look at it in terms of, okay, redemption, forgiveness. Yeah. And he has done those things. As a man, I can't say enough positive things about where he is now and what he's been delivered from. As a wrestling fan, yeah, that one still is big. Is the big heavy albatross around his neck. But when I look at his career, he wasn't just aight. He was more than aight. He was like high level aight. Looking at it now, at least in my opinion. GOAT worthy? No. Whatever you want to call the second tier? Maybe.
Are we gonna have a great worthy? Because he was great. You gotta admit.
Oh yeah, Lex Luger would be a first ballot Hall of Great member.
I agree with that.
He would be a first ballot Hall of Great. You know, he would be a perennial silver medalist.
Right. I would say that.
Yeah. I think that's so. From a wrestling with egos perspective, is that kind of where we're officially going to put the total package? Lex Luger is kind of that. You know, you're not a GOAT, but you're in the Hall of Great.
GOAT, great. This is Lex
Yeah.
Luger.
Yeah.
And that's where he's at.
And I don't have a problem with that. Before tonight, honestly, I think I would have.
If we didn't know everything, if we didn't look up and see what he did, we could say, no.
There's no way in hell. Literally looking that up and seeing the championships and awards that he won, like, holy crap. I mean, I knew he was a Grand Slam winner in WCW. I knew that. I knew he won TV US World Tag. I knew that. But what really got me was Wrestler of the Year in 97. Damn.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, perspective. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this Icons, because I think it's going to be very eye-opening on what WWE tried to do with it. Because that story doesn't get told very much. It's, you know, if you're hearing someone tell the Lex Luger story, it's Eric Bischoff, and you're starting with the very first Nitro. Let's be honest.
True.
And I'm not saying that's a bad place to start. That is a very good place to start. But there's a lot more to it than that. So, official ruling, Lex Luger inducted into the Hall of Great.
Yes.
He does not get to ascend to Mount Olympus. But he's in the green room.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something lower than Mount Olympus, but the green room is close enough.
He's he's at the Mount Olympus after party. He's not invited to Mount Olympus, but he's invited to the after party.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not an A-list celebrity. Definitely a B-list.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have said that an hour ago.
I think I would have said that an hour ago. But honestly, I totally forgot half of the stuff that he did. But I remember him beating Hogan on that Monday night. I remember him and Luger tearing it up, him and Sting tearing it up. But I wouldn't have.
I honestly and truly, until we were talking about it, forgot that he wrecked all those big dudes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh crap, Roadblock, Reese, there was
Tugboat.
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, John Tenta. There was a guy that was trained by Big John Studd that used the last name Studd that he racked. Nash, just a bunch of just massive sumbitches. And just and at the same time, the rack's just a hell of a cool move. Very few people use it because it's just like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
So, well, that's going to wrap up tonight. I am looking real forward to next week. Next week, boys and girls, I promise you, is going to be 50 Shades of Stupid. We are going to have fun with this one. Because trust me, I've got about 7 or 8 gimmicks in my head that I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't care how much they sucked. I don't care how badly they went over. Give me that. I will go in.
What Patrick is actually saying is, give me more. Give me.
My ass. No, Ryback will not be appearing on my list. I've given you one already. All you gotta do is believe. You want me to give you one more?
Give me one more. Give us one more for the teaser. Come on. Give it to us.
Adam Rose. And that guy too. That guy too. But yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be fun next week, people. You need to show.
Yeah, show up. Make sure you guys are watching next week. It's gonna be fun. So last thing, guys, have a safe and happy 4th. Isaac, do me a favor. Put your hands up. Make sure all 10 fingers are in frame. Ladies and gentlemen, count them. Make sure you come back with all of them. I'm just saying. Don't blow any digits off this weekend, especially you people down in the backwoods in whatever various states you might live. The last thing you should ever say 4th of July weekend is, and I quote, "Hey y'all, watch this." Redneck's famous last words. Just say it. I've seen it happen. Karma's a It's kind of like in Scream. You know, one of the rules of surviving a horror movie is you never say "I'll be right back." 4th of July in the backwoods, up on the mountains and in the swamps, you never say, "Hey, y'all, watch this." Nope, it does not turn out well. So, what you doing for the 4th?
I'm just going to a couple parties, and that is about it. I'm not going to go out to fireworks. I'm still a little eerie about being out in public too much. Not personal, you know.
Me and the family are going shopping tomorrow to get last minute things we need for our big trip. Looking very forward to going to South Carolina to see my oldest stepson and his wife and the grandbaby. That's going to be awesome. By the way, they live near Hilton Head.
Kind of hating you right now. Just saying.
And hey, let's just put it this way. By this time next week, my internal soundtrack is going to be the song Knee Deep by Zac Brown Band. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Because next Saturday morning, we on the road. I will literally be finishing this show and then immediately editing it and getting it up. That way I don't have to worry about it. So, that being said, you guys have a safe, happy 4th of July. Thank you guys so much for being a part of our crazy, stupid little show. All 40-something of you guys and anybody else that watches. We appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed as much as we do. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Hit that big old thumbs up button. Leave comments below. Don't forget to click the bell. That way you get notifications when we post new stuff. I'm probably going to give you a rant mode on while I'm on the beach. Why? Because I can. It's called flexing. It's not like Britt Baker flexing, with the title belt in her office. But hey, I got to work.
We do what we got to do, basically.
We do what we got to do. We work with what we got. And I'm not a world champion and a dentist, so I can't flex that way. That being said, we are out for the vacation. Totally lost my train of thought. Wow. For the vacationing intellectual savior of the wrestling masses. That's Isaac. I'm Patrick. This has been Wrestling with Egos. We'll see you next week because this is why we love wrestling.
One more shout out to Frank this week because it was his birthday. We love you, dude. We cannot sit here and not mention that because we do love you. We do love all of our fans. We do all of you. But Frank, love you too. Shout out. Love you.
We love you and you and you and you, and we love the cat.
Yes, we do.